Why in an era where artificial intelligence can paint a digital masterpiece in 3 seconds, write an entire novel in 10 minutes, and automatically execute almost any complex task you can imagine, are millions of young, highly connected adults secretly reverting to clunky, expensive, and incredibly time-consuming physical objects? Have you noticed this bizarre and completely counterintuitive shift happening all around you right now? Sales of vintage film cameras are skyrocketing to the point of global shortages, making them almost impossible to find. Heavy, fragile vinyl records that crackle and pop have suddenly become a highly sought-after luxury commodity, outselling digital downloads. And there are countless professionals who, instead of using lightning-fast, cloud-synced note-taking applications on their smartphones, are meticulously carrying around heavy, thick leather-bound notebooks and dealing with the messy, fussy ink of traditional fountain pens. Have you ever stopped to wonder why you, or perhaps a close friend, suddenly feels an intense, almost unexplainable craving to hold things that are tangible, things that have weight, texture, and demand actual physical effort to operate? Let us try to rewind and capture the exact feeling you experience at the very end of your day. You finally shut down your glowing computer monitor after a grueling, endless shift of emails and virtual meetings. You drag yourself to the bedroom and lie down on your mattress. Your physical body is completely exhausted, your neck is stiff, and your eyes are burning from the artificial blue light. Yet, as if controlled by an invisible force, your thumb instinctively reaches out and unlocks your smartphone just one more time. You begin to scroll. You scroll through hundreds of short, fragmented videos, consume a chaotic barrage of sensationalized news headlines, and absorb rapid flashes of hyper-saturated, perfectly curated imagery. You are not actively watching or processing any of this information. Your brain is simply drifting in a paralyzed, vegetative state, searching for a cheap dopamine hit that never truly arrives. 2 full hours pass by in what feels like a blurry instant. You finally lock the screen. Suddenly, only cold darkness remains in the room. And then a terrifying, suffocating sense of emptiness slowly invades your chest. It is a profound, hollow fatigue vibrating at the deepest level of your neurons, yet your mind remains so aggressively restless and noisy that simply closing your eyes and falling asleep feels like an impossible task. That specific feeling, that invisible, crushing exhaustion you are carrying every single night, is the exact moment your nervous system hits a critical biological breaking point. Your brain is essentially shutting down from being relentlessly bombarded by thousands of invisible, non-physical stimuli every single hour. To your nervous system, this modern lifestyle is perfectly identical to the sensation of driving a car down a dark highway at 100 miles per hour, but the steering wheel is completely disconnected and provides absolutely no physical feedback or resistance to your hands. You are moving forward through life at terrifying speeds, but deep down in your subconscious, you are filled with a creeping, chronic anxiety because your primitive brain knows you are not truly in control of the vehicle. Most people, including senior market analysts and trend-chasing magazines, are incredibly quick to slap a soft, poetic label on this massive analog revival. They comfortably call it a wave of nostalgia. They assume our generation is simply drowning in a romanticized longing for the past because the financial and social pressures of the modern world have become too severe to handle. But the truth hiding behind this sudden behavioral shift is not romantic in the slightest. What is actually happening inside your brain's circuitry right now is much darker, much more painful, and highly alarming. Those vintage, outdated objects are absolutely not an aesthetic hobby or a superficial social media trend designed to make you look sophisticated. They are a desperate, primal cry for help from your central nervous system. In this video, you will realize that you are actively facing a psychological epidemic that neuroscientists refer to as severe sensory overstimulation. You will uncover the raw, biological reason why the simple, deliberate act of picking up a heavy mechanical watch or loading a roll of film is actually a fundamental survival response in our chaotic digital age. More importantly, I will show you exactly why the intentional friction and deliberate inconvenience of these physical objects is the only effective life raft capable of helping you rebuild your internal locus of control. The journey to take back your reality and find the absolute silence your nervous system desperately needs begins right now. The first thing we need to dismantle is the misconception that your sudden urge for analog tools is a simple preference for vintage aesthetics. If you believe you are just chasing a trend or trying to look sophisticated on social media, you are missing the most critical warning sign from your brain. This is not a stylistic choice. It is a biological pivot. To understand why, we have to look at the concept of sensory overstimulation. In the digital world, your brain is forced to process thousands of inputs every single hour. Colors, rapid-fire cuts, notifications, and algorithmically generated content are all designed to bypass your rational defenses and hijack your dopamine receptors. This creates a state of chronic, low-grade sensory overload. Your brain eventually stops trying to make sense of the noise and enters a defensive, numb state. This leads us to the first type of person I frequently observe in my practice, the aesthetic seeker. This individual feels the symptoms of burnout and tries to solve it by buying the expensive camera or the premium leather notebook. They want the look of simplicity. But because they are still tethered to the digital feedback loop, they treat the analog tool as just another prop. They write one entry in the journal, get distracted by a notification, and return to the scroll. They are still trapped in the same loop because they have not changed the underlying mechanism of how they interact with the world. Then there is the second type, the struggling purist. This person understands the value of the analog, but they are constantly fighting an internal war. They sit down to read a physical book or write in a paper notebook, but their hands are physically shaking with the urge to reach for their phone. Their nervous system is literally addicted to the high-frequency dopamine hits provided by their digital devices. When they remove those devices, they experience genuine withdrawal symptoms, restlessness, irritability, and a profound sense of anxiety. They are trying to force their nervous system to slow down, but the physiological dependence on constant digital stimulation is too strong. They often give up, blaming themselves for not having enough willpower, when in reality, it is a biological struggle against an environment designed to keep them overstimulated. But then, we reach the third type, and this is where the real psychological shift occurs. This is the person who discovers the true secret behind the analog revolution, the locus of control. When you write on paper with a pen, you are engaging in a tactile, high-friction activity. There is no instant undo button. There is no algorithm predicting your next word. You are forced to be present, to use your physical senses, and to accept the imperfections of your own handwriting. This is not just a hobby. It is an intentional act of reclaiming your internal locus of control. By choosing an activity where you are solely responsible for the input and the result, you are signaling to your brain that you, not the software, are the one driving the vehicle. You are moving from a passive consumer of digital noise to an active creator of your own reality. Think of it as a form of cognitive anchoring. The digital world is like quicksand. The more you struggle to stay on top, the faster you sink. The analog world, with its slowness and its demand for physical presence, is the solid ground. It provides the resistance that your nervous system desperately craves. When you feel the weight of the paper, the scratch of the pen, or the mechanical click of a watch, you are grounding your consciousness in the present moment. You are telling your overstimulated brain, I am here, I am in control, and I am not a product for an algorithm to consume. This is not about the object itself. It is about the ritual of agency. So what does this profound psychological shift actually mean for your everyday life? It means that the sudden, unexplainable urge you feel to buy a dusty typewriter, fix up an old vintage bicycle, or sit in absolute silence with a physical heavy book is not a sign that you are moving backward. It is not a symptom of an inability to adapt to the fast-paced modern technology. Instead, it is your brain executing a highly sophisticated, deeply ingrained biological survival protocol. You are subconsciously attempting to recalibrate your entire nervous system. The physical friction you experience when you have to manually wind a mechanical watch every single morning, or the deliberate patience required to wait a full week for a roll of photographic film to be developed, acts as a powerful cognitive anchor. This physical friction forces your racing, overstimulated mind to synchronize with the natural, biological limitations of the real physical world. Every single time you push a metal pen across a rough piece of paper, the tactile feedback travels directly from your fingertips, up your arm, and straight into your brain's processing centers, signaling that you are safely grounded in reality. This deliberate, slow action actively lowers your cortisol levels, which is the hormone responsible for your chronic midnight anxiety, and provides a stable, healthy baseline of dopamine instead of the chaotic, exhausting spikes caused by social media algorithms. By fully embracing this analog resistance, you're taking back your internal locus of control. You're making a bold, psychological declaration that you absolutely refuse to let your attention, your vital energy, and your perception of reality be dictated by a perfectly optimized machine designed to commodify your cognitive resources. You transition from being a helpless, passive victim trapped in an endless digital river to an active participant who is building their own solid boat. The analog object becomes a strict physical boundary, a protective shield between your fragile human nervous system and the relentless, exhausting demands of the virtual world. It is the ultimate, most raw form of self-care in an era of severe psychological overstimulation. Now, I want you to take a moment and honestly reflect on your own daily routine. Look at the objects surrounding you in your room right now. How many of them actually require your physical effort to function? How many of them give you a genuine sense of ownership and control, rather than just acting as a glowing portal to another endless feed of digital noise? Are you going to continue driving down that dark, terrifying highway at incredibly high speeds with a disconnected steering wheel, simply hoping that the digital system will eventually slow down for you? Or are you finally ready to step out of that dangerous vehicle, grab the handlebars of a heavy, slow, but completely real bicycle, and feel every single painful bump on the road, knowing that you, and only you, are the one deciding exactly where to go? If this psychological breakdown resonated with that exhausted, overwhelmed part of your brain, you need to make sure you hit subscribe to this channel right now. In our very next video, I am going to reveal a deeply hidden psychological manipulation tactic built directly into almost every modern smartphone screen that 99% of people are completely unaware of, and it is quietly destroying your ability to form long-term memories. You definitely do not want to miss out on understanding exactly how your own memory is being hijacked every single day. I will see you in the next one.